suggest to look at fertility apps is that it's used extensively, and we are looking at how effective these are in predicting ovulation. So this was from a very good paper which looked at, do fertility tracking applications offer women useful information of their fertile periods? So that's the question which was to be answered. Now, the fertile window is when conception can occur, is defined as the day of ovulation and preceding 5 days. So when you look at what's available in the market, and you look at smartphone apps, they track diet, exercise, sleep, blood sugars. Mobile fertility tracking apps, that's FTA, and they track menstrual cycle and tell women when they ovulate. Ideally, the fertility tracking apps need to accurately identify the 6-day fertile window, and that can vary from individuals. So if you look at the most used technique, and that's the calendar method, ovulation occurring around 14 days. But the problem is that there are variations, including day of ovulation, and that varies in women even after regular cycles. The average day of ovulation is 16.9 days, and this varied quite significantly. If you see, it varies significantly in cycle length and age. Now, the fertility awareness methods, and many are based on basal body temperature, rise of temperature between 0.2 and 4%, urinary LH levels, and each fertility awareness method had its own strength and limitations. Many of them were based on small observational trials. There were minimal collection points, and there's a difference rate of publication and the swift application of these apps. So by the time you publish something, a new app is already on the market. So if you looked at 2019 and Google Play Store and Apple iOS, the apps were similar in content with user interface. And they looked at various matters. They looked at calendar, they looked at basal body temperature, LH level. So we see it was trying to use certain data points at which they'll be able to predict these. And when you look at the results, 76% of apps were free to download. 24% it cost anything between £1 to £10. Only 50% of apps at that stage were regularly updated. Only 29% of apps had over 100 reviews, and 36% had links to other apps. 42% allowed users to share tracked information with others. So it is quite a wide range of way these apps functioned. In fact, it is quite impossible to predict the day of ovulation by simply looking at a cycle dates. And it's alarming that almost 54% of apps used the calendar method. And possibly it gives you inaccurate information. In this study, about 28% of calendar apps were reviewed, and they tracked other things like basal body temperature, cervical mucus. In fact, with all these, you may still end up giving quite confusing information about the fertile window. 20% of apps cautioned user about inaccuracies. The MRHA defines a medical device as one that can harm its users, those that interpret data and perform a calculation. Now, the FTAs routinely predict ovulation, the fertile window, and not really regarded as a medical device. So if you look at the additional features, and there are a lot of additional features, you're looking at height, weight, you're looking at different options, and there's a lot more to be added if you want to make these more accurate. So we look at the overall conclusion from this study, and the reason why it's good is because from a scientific perspective, it's one of the first studies that looked at this market. Because if you look at the apps available in the market, in which a lot of women rely heavily on when to try for a pregnancy, assessing the use of these apps is equally important. Many of these tracking apps are heterogeneous. They are inaccurate at times and give unreliable, especially in the calendar method. And many of these apps are going to tell you when you ovulate, and especially when you're only looking at the calendar method, my concern is that they may be missing, and it is there to suggest that 20% of cases you're missing the ovulation. They should be able to use at least one of the markers or data points to be able to get. Now, overall, this area is still quite an untested area. There's a lot where research can go into understanding and implementing new applications, and maybe in the future you will be coming across much better applications which will help to predict ovulation.